Tuesday, September the 10th. Up early to start the day and a panoramic view across the city from the hotel with a nice view of St. Isaac's Cathedral. The bus driver overslept and was late, so we visited a little park. By itself, nothing more than a nice little park, but the park's name is the YUPUSOV Gardens. The YUPUSOVs were a family of incredible wealth in the late 1800s with a beautiful palace on the Moika River Canal in the middle of St. Petersburg, not far from where we're at right now. The significance of this is that it was in that YUPUSOV palace in 1916 that Rasputin, who was a very controversial figure and close confidant of Nicholas II, was murdered just weeks before the Bolshevik Revolution. Not too long after visiting the park, our driver shows up and we're off to our next destination. We head down the Fontanka River Canal on our way to Catherine's statue. On the way also, we passed the Lomonosov Bridge with its picturesque drawbridge towers, one of only two such historical bridges still in existence from the 1700s in St. Petersburg. In front of a Carlo Rossi designed performing arts theater is the park that holds Catherine the Great's statue. It is a fairly impressive statue of Catherine the Great. The figures surrounding the base are significant individuals in the life of Catherine the Great, including the Suvorov brothers who helped her overthrow her husband, Peter III, and take the throne. Also, there is Potemkin, who was her most famous lover and possibly even her husband, as well as one of the great Russian military leaders of their time. After visiting Catherine's statue, we headed down towards the river. Next on our agenda, we crossed the Bolshaya Neva, or the Grand Neva, over the Palace Bridge, headed for the ROSTRAL columns, passing the Kunstkammer, which is an anthropology and ethnography research facility and museum. Peter the Great created this organization to do research and study all the customs, cultures, and behavior of all Russian people. The rostral columns are indeed beautiful to look at and are a major tourist attraction. However, there is little significance for them outside of the fact that they were put there to assist boats in knowing where the split in the river occurs between the Little Neva and the Grand Neva. Peter and Paul Fortress and Cathedral is where we head to next. We head over the Malaha Neva, or the Little Neva, on our way to the Peter and Paul Fortress. As we approach the fortress, we pass over a small bridge to Hare Island, where the fort is located. And you can see in the distance St. Isaac's and the rostral columns. This building here is the Artillery Museum, a museum of historical Russian artillery. The Peter and Paul Fortress Cathedral. The Peter and Paul Fortress is a star-shaped fortress and was the original citadel of St. Petersburg and served a long time as a prison and ultimately became a museum. The most significant structure of the fortress is the cathedral, and the highlight these days is the fact that nearly all the members of the Romanov dynasty are now interred inside the church. I identify a few of the most significant of those that are interred here. The first of the Romanovs that I identify is the sarcophagus of Nicholas II, the last of the dynasty who, along with his family, were slaughtered in 1918 by the Bolsheviks. The interior of the church is pretty impressive, with all of its sculptures, chandeliers, gold flake, marble, and paintings. Only two of the Romanov dynasty are not interred here, and they are Peter II and Ivan IV. One of the more significant ones here is Alexander II, who is remembered with the location of his assassination being memorialized in a shrine in the Church of the Savior of Spilled Blood. And here is the sarcophagus of Catherine the Great. Peter the Great is just beyond her. A truly magnificent cathedral, and I believe a fitting tribute to the Romanovs, who definitely were beyond extravagant. However, they did many things to improve Russia and were not nearly as harsh on prisoners as was told at the time. From the fortress we travel around the corner to where the Aurora cruiser is, significant because it was this ship from which a shot from one of the cannons was the signal for the start of the Bolshevik Revolution, which was an assault on the Winter Palace. While everyone on the tour took the opportunity to do some shopping, I took a stroll on the banks of the Neva River with the Trinity Bridge in the background, and you can also see on the other side of the bridge St. Isaac's Cathedral. Next we head to Church of the Savior on Spilled Blood. And to get there we cross the Neva River over the Trinity Bridge with a final view of the Peter and Paul Fortress and Cathedral, making our way back into the center of town. On the other side of the bus, in the distance, you can see a fourth major city bridge, the Litany Bridge. Church of the Savior on Spilled Blood. Unfortunately being refurbished, but still beautiful. We only had a few minutes, so I took a quick walk around the cathedral to get to the sunny side of the church. In 2016, the steeple was not being refurbished, and we had time to go inside. So this was a nice visit, but not nearly what it could have been. The inside of the cathedral is beyond spectacular, and has the actual cobblestone road where Alexander II was blown up, cordoned off in a shrine area. Next stop is the iconic St. Isaac's Cathedral. On the way, we cross over the Moika Canal, upon which the YUPUSOV Palace is located, which is where Rasputin was murdered, and also located right here on the Moika is the Literature Restaurant, where we will have dinner tomorrow night. As impressive as the inside is, I did not go in this time, and it is not quite as impressive as the outside. I think the most impressive thing about the cathedral are the 48 solid red granite columns which surround the cathedral, each weighing in excess of 100 tons. The dome is actually an inspiration for our dome of the United States Capitol building. From there, we were given some free time, and on our way to be dropped off on the main street of Nevsky Prospect, with shops and restaurants, we passed the Stroganov Palace, and that somehow whetted my appetite. Ray, Donna, and I decided to get a bite to eat. So we started down the street looking for a nice place to eat. We found this nice little basement restaurant, and it had really nice ambiance. There were some antiques and old paintings to give it a real beer parlor feeling. There was a choice of beers, and of course I had to try the St. Petersburg beer. And just recently, having passed the Stroganov Palace, my appetite was whetted for beef stroganoff. Looks like we got a discount for eating before 5. Who knew? But how fun, a check in Russian, and I can just about figure out what we owe in rubles. The daytime excursions were done, and we were headed back to the hotel, passing the horse trainer bridge and traveling along the Fontanka Canal. And eventually passing the famous and picturesque, once again, the Lomonosov Bridge. A couple hours later, it would be time for the night canal boat ride. The bus picked us up, and we were headed for the Neva River.
Anyway, so again, here we go. And he just
We are dropped off next to the river, and we walk across the embankment road down to our boat. Arriving at the boat, and just across the river, the beautifully lit up Kunstkammer. We can stay up here?
You can stay here and see.
After arriving, we quickly shove off and head for the Palace Bridge to start our canal ride. The bridge is impressively lit up.
If they do, give me one.
okay.
Would you mind switching chairs with me?
No, that's fine.
Let me sit up there so I
Okay.
can do my camera.
Okay, no problem.
Over to the left is the impressive Peter and Paul Fortress, along with the Peter and Paul Cathedral over on Hare Island. And off to the right, the Hermitage. Beautiful by day, spectacular by night, all lit up with a view from the river. At the moment, on the Trinity Bridge, they have the flashing lights on.
Здоров'я, yes.
Na zdrowie.
Yeah, cheers and na здоров'я.
Здорово. Nas.
It was constructed during reign of Catherine the Great for the command.
At the moment, they have the flashing lights turned off. But as we get closer, you can see that the floodlights on the bridge pylons are changing colors.
Well, that warmed me right now.
Sure did.
Ahead of the boat, the Trinity Bridge. All our bridges are lit during the evening time. And whenever we have the tourist season, very often we have a musical festivals.
After passing underneath the Trinity Bridge and on the other side, we make our turn towards the canals.
We have over 400 bridges.
This is the Prochechny Bridge. We cross under this bridge, which is part of the embankment road, and it is the entrance to the Fontanka Canal from the Neva River.
From Neva River we enter Fontanka, and Fontanka we can go to U-turn, enter the Dome, again Neva.
On the right side of this stretch is the Engineer's Castle, or St. Michael's, built by Paul I as a protective fort with a moat, because he had a fear of assassination. 4 months after completion of St. Michael's, he was assassinated. Also on the banks of this stretch is the original summer palace of Peter the Great. This is the Berlin's Kogo Bridge, a nicely lit up bridge which is a road that you can take into town past the Russian Museum.
Along the so-called Central Road, and it took them 2 years. 2 years finally they came here, and it is evident when they went to the of the park. Couple of statues, and behind the facade of the Palace.
The next bridge would have been the horse trainer's bridge, but we turned around before reaching it. And we entered the Moyoka Canal, leaving the Fontanka Canal. This is only 1 block down from the Cathedral on Spilled Blood. This is also the canal that the YUPUSOV Palace is located on, where Rasputin was murdered, but we did not make it that far either. After passing under the first and second Sadovi bridges,
When I was born, a lot of families named their daughters Tatiana. Yes,
which were quite beautiful bridges, especially lit up at night. We are approaching the Hermitage and will soon turn onto the Winter Canal, a very short canal from the Moyaka Canal back out to the Neva River, and passes through the middle of the Hermitage. And is considered a very romantic canal to take a ride on. The overhead arch immediately in front connects the Hermitage with a walkway between the different sections of the Hermitage. And just ahead of that, the Embankment Road Bridge, which we go under to re-enter the Neva River, is the Hermitage Bridge and is the smallest as well as the oldest stone bridge in St. Petersburg. Back out into the Neva River, we head underneath the Palace Bridge towards St. Isaac's. Once again past Kunstkammer on the right, and you can see in the distance St. Isaac's on the left. And the well lit up huge and beautiful building here is the Senate building, where all the highest legislative and administrative power lies, and this building was the final project of the famous architect Carlos Rossi. St. Isaac's, very impressively lit up at night. A final glimpse of these beautiful buildings, and then the day, the evening, and the canal boat ride were done.